guess we can get started here. Cool. Hi, welcome everyone to the session today on Copilot for Sales and how it integrates into Microsoft Copilot Studio. My name is Reza Assadi. I'm one of the group engineering managers on the Copilot for Sales team. And I have with me today our extensibility feature crew, Gaurav Sisodia, who is one of the engineering managers running our extensibility framework, Bharath, who is the product manager for everything extensibility related on the product, and Gaurav Babbar, who is one of the engineers also working out extensibility framework. So there are a couple of topics that we're going to talk about today. One is we're going to start with a brief overview of Copilot for Sales, just so that everybody kind of understands what the product is and how it works and what the vision is behind it. Then we're going to look at some very concrete extensibility scenarios, and we're also going to spotlight some partners that we work with very closely to extend Copilot for Sales. And then lastly, we're going to do a hands-on demo showing how to go and build an extension for Copilot for Sales in Copilot Studio. And then we're going to wrap up this session with some call to action, how you can get started, and some general Q&A. So just to provide a quick overview of the product, I think by now everybody here is familiar with M365 Copilot and what it does. And really what M365 Copilot does is it combines the power of LLM with your data from Microsoft Graph to really help with employee productivity. But one of the shortcomings of Copilot, M365 Copilot, is that it doesn't always know the context of the persona that's using it or the specific task that that persona is trying to achieve or accomplish. So it's a little bit of a general purpose Copilot in some ways. And that's where Copilot for Sales comes in. Copilot for Sales is a role-based Copilot that enhances that M365 Copilot with additional data sources and really enables seller-tailored experiences, and in some ways makes that M365 Copilot really speaks sales. And the way that it does that is primarily by pulling in your CRM data, whether that's Salesforce, Dynamics 365, or potentially other CRM systems in the future, along with other sales-specific data sources into M365 Copilot to just make it a lot richer. And the idea here is that there are a lot of these different Copilots out there, and organizations are trying to kind of figure out how to connect them and how they all work together. With Copilot for Sales, when you as an organization are rolling out your Copilot, the idea is that you only worry about one Copilot for the type of roles that you have in your organization. So Copilot for Sales for your sellers, Copilot for customer service for your customer service agents, Copilot for finance for your finance department, and so forth. And on top of that, over the last few months, we've very closely worked with the Copilot Studio team to also make sure that Copilot Studio speaks sales. And partners and customers can actually go and build extensions that further enrich those sales-specific flows and those sales-specific user experiences with their own data sources. Now, if we go further, before we jump into some of the examples for different extensions that our partners have developed over the last few months, we just want to kind of level set of how the product actually works so that you can navigate yourself through the different demos and the different presentations that we have. And again, the idea behind Copilot for Sales is that it meets the seller where they're doing their work. So kind of pulling them out of the CRM and meeting them in Outlook, in Teams, in OneNote, in PowerPoint, or now M365 chat, where they're spending most or the majority of their time. And there are four types of experiences where Copilot for Sales shows up. One is in the app chat. So whether you're in Outlook, for example, or Teams, you have the app chat open on the side, and you're asking questions and issuing prompts. Copilot for Sales can show up and give you more relevant information or more relevant answers based on the fact that it knows that you're that seller persona, based on the fact that it has access to that CRM system and can pull in much, much richer data. The second type of use case are, if you could go back, oh, sorry. The second kind of use case is embedded AI. So for example, there are experiences now that Copilot is building that are not chat-based, but that are pre-canned experiences. So for example, in Outlook, we have the email summary or generate email reply capabilities where Copilot can help you summarize an email, generate an email reply. And with Copilot for Sales, we can, again, enrich those use cases. So imagine you're getting an email from John at Contoso. What M365 Copilot can do is it can summarize that email just based on the content that's in that email and potentially some other graph data. But what Copilot for Sales can do is it can then pull in additional data about John, opportunities, account details out of the CRM to give you a much, much richer summary that gives you much more information. And similarly, when you're responding to a customer, just make that reply a lot richer with that sales data embedded. The third use case is contextual sidecar, where you basically have a side panel that follows you along, or sidecar that follows you along, again, whether that's in like a Teams meeting or in Outlook, where we can provide a lot more details about the context of the email that you're in or the specific Teams meeting that you're interacting in. Again, pulling in sales-specific information, sales like opportunity summaries, account summaries, to just make you much more effective in responding, for example, to an email or as you're interacting with the customer in that Teams meeting. And then lastly is M365 chat, which is very similar to the app chat, where you can issue prompts and ask questions. Now, where extensibility comes in, we want to enable partners and customers to enrich and enhance each one of these surface areas with their additional data. So again, if we, for example, are providing an opportunity summary within a chat experience, we want partners to be able to embed their own data, their own use cases within that. Or for example, if we are generating an email reply and there's additional data that a partner or a customer wants to embed in that email reply that's specific to their workloads, their business processes, they can go and embed themselves in there as well. And all these experiences that we're building, they always surface across all the different M365 apps. So once you go and enrich one of these use cases, or you introduce one of your own skills that surface in one of these surface areas, it will always work consistently across all of them. So you don't have to worry about handling how your opportunity summary, like the additional data that you're introducing, will surface in chat versus in like a email response versus like in a Teams meeting summary. We will do all the heavy lifting to make sure that it consistently shows up across all the different surface areas. And when you develop it once, we do the heavy lifting of plumbing it through all these different user experiences. And what we want to showcase to you guys today is a number of different partner extensions that have been developed over the last 3 to 6 months that we really are leveraging this extensibility framework that we've developed that showcase the power of Copilot for Sales, how it can be enriched with all these different data sources. So I'm going to hand it over to Bharath, who's going to show us some concrete examples.
Thanks, Reza. So we've been partnering with some of the best sales application vendors in the world who are integrating with Copilot for Sales to bring insights from their applications into the Copilot experience to empower sales teams to get those insights in the flow of work. Let's start with Databook. Databook is a leader in account planning, territory management, and sales engagement space. And let's look at how Databook integrates with Copilot for Sales with an example. Let's say you're a sales rep who receives an email about having an account assigned to you. You could have Databook's extension for Copilot for Sales give you insights about that account, the latest news about them, their financial performance, their buying cycle, key stakeholders, and much more, right within Outlook. And you can also go beyond what's available in Outlook. You can go to the Copilot chat experience and interact with the Databook extension for Copilot to get insights about what new opportunities are available with that account that you can pursue. And it's not just identifying the opportunities. Let's say you pursue these opportunities with the stakeholders in the account over a call. Databook also helps you prepare for those meetings. It gives you insights that can help you connect your narrative and align it with your customers' urgent needs and challenges, that way making you more successful in your deals. Let's look at another partner that we have, Showpad. Showpad is a leader in the sales content enablement space. And customers over the world use Showpad to share sales content, brochures, pricing guides, and whatnot with their customers. And once you share content with Showpad with your customers, the Showpad extension for Copilot for Sales gives you visibility over which content the buyer is most engaged in so that you can use those engagement insights when you get back to the customer. So in this example, the customer has come back to the seller with some questions about the product that they are selling. And with Showpad's insights, the seller is able to understand the questions are coming from the product brochure versus the pricing guide and whatnot, and that additional context helps them address the customer's questions with much more clarity and be more effective in customer conversations. Showpad also extends the chat-based experience in Copilot. Sales teams can, with a few simple prompts, simply discover and easily locate the right content in Showpad to share with their customers for different topics. This means the sellers spend less time searching for content and more time actually sharing the content collaborating on it, and making sure the messaging reaches their customers. Let's now take a look at another partner of ours, Outreach. Outreach needs no introduction. Their sales engagement platform enables their sales teams across the globe with insights about the deals and guided next steps for moving the deal forward. And these next steps from Outreach made sure the sales teams are always working on the next deliverable due on them with guidance on best practices. Here's an example of how Outreach can help a seller. I have a seller who's stuck on a deal. The deal was growing very fast, but then the interest from the customer has died down. And with Outreach's insights, the seller can take a guess. One of the stakeholders in the customer company has some concerns with pricing. That's likely caused the dip in the interest from the customer side. And Outreach goes beyond just figuring out what the concern could be. It suggests the seller to get in touch with the stakeholder, address their concerns over a call in order to move the deal forward. With these insights available to the seller right within Outlook, the seller is much more prepared to get in touch with the stakeholders, set up a meeting with them, and move the deal forward. Let's take a look at another of our partner, HighSpot. HighSpot has rich integrations with the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. You can use HighSpot's add-in for Outlook to share content with your customers already. And once you share content through HighSpot, you can use the HighSpot's integrations with Copilot for Sales to get visibility on the different HighSpot deal rooms that you have created for your accounts or your opportunities. And it's not just the deal rooms that you get visibility over. Let's say one of your customers has visited the deal room and downloaded some collateral or viewed a collateral or added some comment to it. You'd be able to get notifications about those right from within the Outlook experience. And you can quickly get back to the customer on all those activities you're noticing on your deal rooms. Let's move to the next partner that we have, People.ai. People.ai is a leader in the revenue intelligence space. They have an industry-leading data platform and a lot of rich sales AI capabilities that help provide insights on how well your engagement with different stakeholders are going. Here's an example of how People.ai could add value to a seller engaging with customers on email. People.ai provides crisp and quick updates on how the engagement score with each of your stakeholders are happening. And let's say there's a dip in your engagement score. People.ai can also give you suggestions for who in your sales network, which of your sales colleague already works with your stakeholders, and can help you get introduced with them and build a better rapport with these stakeholders to increase the engagement score. People.ai also integrates with the chat-based experience in Copilot so that as a seller, you can go to the Copilot chat and proactively get insights about how well your deal is doing. What's happening with the deal? What's the latest that has happened? Are there any risks that needs to be addressed? And what needs to happen next in order to close on these deals? Let's switch gears and look at another of our partner, Seismic. Seismic's content enablement platform is integrated with Copilot for Sales in every step of the engagement that happens across channels. If you're meeting with a customer on Teams, you have Seismic's extension helping you out. If you're on email engaging with your customers, you again have Seismic's extension for Copilot for Sales, giving you additional insights. Let's say you're on a call with a customer, and as part of the conversation, the customer informs you that there are some competitor products that they are considering. Seismic's content enablement extensions for Copilot for Sales, after the call, as part of the Teams recap that you have, can come up with suggestions for content about competitors and how your product is better, and suggest that you share it with your customers. And it's not just on Teams that you get these suggestions. Usually after you have a call on Teams, you often go back to Outlook, create an email summary to summarize what's happened during the call out next steps, and share additional collateral. Seismic's suggested contents flow into the loop in Outlook as well, so that when you close loop with your customers, you can have the content suggestions added through Outlook. We looked at a meeting-based scenario, but even if you draft a new email to your customers about products, product specifications and whatnot, you can have content suggestions help with all those scenarios as well. Let's switch gears and look at another of our partner, Crossbeam. Crossbeam is a leader in the partner relationship management space. They help companies drive revenue by ecosystem-led growth. And let's say, as in this example, you get a new inquiry for your products through email. The account team can quickly get insights from Crossbeam right within Outlook about which of your partners has worked with this account, which of those partners have open opportunities already with this account. And with all these insights, the account team is much more better prepared to get back to the customer, connect them with the right partner, and make sure that this deal succeeds. Let's say you move forward with these deals. You're at a stage where you're negotiating on the pricing for your product. We have integrations with 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 to bring you insights about the proposals that you're building for your customers, as well as insights on pricing guidance for all those proposals. When you're on an email with your customer negotiating on the price, it's very common to get feedback from your customers that the pricing is too high, asking for more discounts and whatnot. And there are so many to and fro, like between the sales team and between customers and the buyer in order to negotiate the right price. With 𝗏𝗻𝗀 bringing insights into the Outlook experience, you get visibility not just on all the quotes, you get visibility on the pricing guidance from pros, on whether the discounts that the customer is requesting are acceptable to you, and can you provide those discounts while still making margins for your company. So negotiating on the prices and arriving at the right solution and agreeing on it with the customer is much more simpler with 𝗏𝗻𝗀 integrated with Copilot for Sales. And last but not least, let's take a look at DocuSign. Companies across the globe use DocuSign to digitally ink their sales agreements. And as a sales rep, it's crucial for you to chase down on every agreement that's signed and make sure all the stakeholders sign it in time. And DocuSign's integration with Copilot for Sales gives you that visibility. It tells you which agreements are in process, and when anybody opens the document and signs it, you get notifications. You also get notified about who's yet to sign those agreements so that you can follow up with them and actually ensure those agreements are signed. DocuSign integrates with the Copilot experience on chat as well. And this is very helpful in early stages of the deal where it's not about chasing people to sign a document, but rather going back and doing research on your customers and understanding what agreements do they already have and what products do they already use from your organizations. You can get visibility on all your past sales agreements with DocuSign's integration with Copilot Chat. These are just a few examples of partners integrating with Copilot for Sales. We have many others in the ecosystem who are working with us to extend Copilot for Sales and bring insights from all these different applications. I want to call out two things before we move on to talking about how you can build such extensions yourself or start using these extensions. One, all the scenarios that you saw on screen right now, they are all available for you to try hands-on. Towards the end of the session, we'll be sharing a preview link for you to sign up. You can sign up in there to get access to all these great integrations. And second, these are just the first of many integrations that we are building with partners. So we are very open to feedback that you can provide on what other integrations that we can build with these partners that will be helpful to your organizations. With that, I'll hand it over to Gaurav to talk about how you can build your own extensions. Let's say you're building you have an in-house sales app yourself. How can you bring insights from all those applications into Copilot for Sales?
Thank you, Bharath. Next, we'll have a look at the architecture of the extensibility solution that we have built in Copilot for Sales. I'll explain this starting from bottom to up. So at the bottom, we have Power Platform connectors, the community here, who is building certified and custom connectors already. Now, in Copilot Studio, we'll build extensions over these connectors. In Copilot Studio will allow us to add descriptions to these connectors and model them in a right way to hook them to Copilot for Sales skills. We have plenty of skills in Copilot for Sales. For example, the examples we saw, entity summary, meeting preparation, and we also have a capability where partners can bring their own skill in form of Q&A. And from there, the responsibility goes to Copilot for Sales Orchestrator to take all the skills together, along with the insights fetched in real time from the partner apps, take them together and show them across all the surfaces in Microsoft productivity tools. That's the biggest takeaway from this slide. We are building connectors already today. We'll easily build extensions, and Copilot for Sales will show them across all the surfaces that we saw, like M365 Chat, Outlook Embedded Canvas, Sidecar, in all the places. Next, we'll have a look at how easily we can build extensions using Copilot Studio. Here, we are in Copilot Studio. Imagine myself being a low-code persona or a maker in a Contoso organization who wishes to extend Copilot for Sales. We'll start by going to Copilots, choose Copilot for Sales for extension. Here, we'll start creating a new extension. We'll pick the extension of type Power Platform Connector. This view is going to list all the Power Platform connectors which are available in this organization. We have a custom connector already pre-built, which has APIs which are meaningful Copilot for Sales. We are going to pick the connector. Let's give it a name for demo. Here, this screen allows us to edit name of the extensions, their descriptions, and it allows us to choose a solution, a Dataverse solution. If we don't choose a solution, a new one gets created for us. This is a critical capability of Copilot Studio, where all the extensions that we are building are housed in a Dataverse solution, which makes ALM really easy. Next, Copilot Studio is going to list all the APIs that are available in the connector we just chose. Here we have these APIs. Let's start by choosing CRM Record Details API. Copilot Studio again allows us to edit all these descriptions. These descriptions have been auto-populated from the connector. The descriptions here are critical for Copilot Sales Orchestrator to work, and we have guidance in our public documentation that needs to be followed here. The right descriptions enables Copilot for Sales Orchestrator to discover that extension, discover its API, and execute it. We'll choose one more API before we proceed further. Let's choose Key Sales Info. As you can see in this wizard, all we are doing is either picking an API, adding descriptions to it, editing those descriptions, which indicates that the extension we are building is simply a lightweight wrapper over the connectors that are already built. In the next screen, Copilot Studio is going to ask us to either create a connection, a new connection to the Power Platform connector we just chose, or pick any existing connection. Connection is just a way for Power Platform connector and Copilot Studio to authenticate the user to the backend, which is configured in Power Platform connector. Let's use an existing connection and click on test. The test action here is making this extension that we just built and making it available for Copilot for Sales. What we can do here is we can now switch to Outlook, where we are already in context of an email. We are going to launch our contextual sidecar experience that we just saw earlier. The extension that we have just built is only available for this user, the current user, which is myself. The extension is not available for any other user, which means that I can test the extension, Copilot for Sales, Sidecar, M365 Chat, all the surfaces, keep on iterating until I see the extension working in a correct way, go back to Copilot Studio, edit it again, come back, test it again. Previously, we chose in this extension 2 APIs. We chose one for Key Sales Info skill. So here the Sidecar experience has loaded, and we can see the Key Sales Info skill shown here. In this skill, we have a dedicated section to list partner insights from all the apps that are configured here. We also have citation cards, where we have capability to list additional information about the insight. We also have a capability for our partners to configure a deep link to their systems, where sellers can click on it and navigate to the insights for a detailed view. Next, we'll move on to the opportunity details page in Copilot for Sales. The second API that we chose in the extension was for CRM record details. And here we can see the insights are again fetched from the extension we just created in real time. So we can see everything works here. We are perfectly fine with the extension we are creating. We'll go back to Copilot Studio. The next stage in Copilot Studio is to publish this extension. Clicking on publish is going to make this extension available to this environment so that it's discoverable by Copilot administrators to enable this extension for rest of the users in the organization. Even clicking on publish and doing this publishing gesture is not pushing the extension to all the sellers in the organization, which means we have governance right baked in. We have given control to our Copilot administrators in the organization to choose which extensions are relevant for what sellers. Once this gets published, we'll switch our view to the second persona that we wanted to demo. The second persona is going to be a Copilot administrator in the organization. Copilot Studio also enables Copilot administrators to manage the extensions that are created by makers in the environment. Here we have an extension called Contoso Hub, which we pre-created for the demo purposes, and this extension has been enabled by the Copilot administrator in this environment. Clicking on details of this extension, we can see that we have choices either to enable or disable a plugin. If we want to enable this extension, we can choose either we want to enable this for certain users, Copilot administrators only, or the entire organization. So there are plenty of choices here for an administrator to choose governance. Another call out here, the role and the persona who is managing extensions for Copilot for Sales in Copilot Studio is the same persona who manages Copilot for Sales rest of the settings in the product. So we have carried over the same definition, the same persona to manage extensions in Copilot Studio as well. We'll now switch over to the third persona that we want to demo, which is a seller in the Contoso organization. So thus far we have seen a maker persona who builds an extension, tests it themselves, publishes it, and an admin who enables the extension for the sellers in the organization. So here we are logged in as a seller who has received an email from their customer. They're collaborating on this email and they have launched the contextual sidecar, the persistent sidecar. And what they see as a first run experience here is a notification asking them to connect to the extension which has been enabled by the admin. Clicking on sign in is going to launch a sign in experience for the seller to connect to the underlying Power Platform connector, which is part of this extension. Let's go ahead and create a connection. This is a one-time gesture for our sellers where they are giving their permission, like they are authenticating authenticating Copilot for Sales to access the Power Platform connector, which accesses the data in real time from the extensions. So we saw the sign-in widget, the sign-in pop-up gets dismissed itself, the contextual sidecar refreshes, and let's go to the skill of extending opportunity details page. Here we can again see for the seller, the extension which was enabled by the admin, pre-enabled, shows up here, and we can see the data again fetched in real time from the partner extension. That's the demo. That's complete the entire story from how a maker goes and then creates a plugin, tests it out, and a Copilot administrator enable it, and how the first run experience looks like for a seller. Yeah. Right, we are available in private preview right now. Starting today, please use these links to start signing up. We look forward to hearing from all of you. We are eager for your feedback. Thank you. That's all we had for today. We are open for questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question about extending Dynamics 365 sales, Copilot, if you can add more language models. So like in Copilot Fine-Tune, because you said that you're going to use Copilot Studio, Is that possible?
Reza, do you want to take that? Or?
Yeah, so you're asking if there's additional languages that could be supported? Yeah.
LLMs.
LLMs, yeah. As of right now, no, not yet, because we are we're integrating into our own OpenAI endpoint. So a lot of like the summary and other LLM use cases that you saw, we are directly calling from within the Copilot for Sales. It's not a use case that we're looking at quite yet, but I think it'll be probably down the road that we're going to consider how to plug in other LLMs as well.
Okay.
Can I come again? I'm not sure I... in the list of connectors, you mean? I believe there's a Dataverse connector now, which is the new Dynamics connector. Like given that it's like the platform got separated as like Dataverse, and then you have like the Dynamics apps. We have a new Dataverse connector, I guess. So you still have a connector, and there is an updated version. It's just not the Dynamics, the earlier one that was named Dynamics.
So if I'm enabling Sales Copilot from Dynamics, would I be able to add some more prompts to it?
Sure. So just so I get your question right, though, and for the audience online, your question is, if you're turning on Copilot for Sales for Dynamics, can you add additional prompts to it? To clarify, like the Copilot inside of Dynamics is different from Copilot inside of Microsoft 365. So if you're on Outlook, Teams, or Word, and so on, you get access to Copilot for Sales. And if you're inside of Dynamics, you get access to the Copilot inside of Dynamics. Today, these two are two separate Copilots. The Copilot inside of Dynamics is built natively on Copilot Studio. So you could enhance it in Copilot Studio and add the additional prompts that you need. The Copilot inside of Microsoft 365, the Copilot for Sales, you can extend the chat-based experience as well. We saw examples of how you could, like Databook has extended it, Showpad has extended the chat experience, DocuSign has as well, and we have many more customers doing it too. So it is possible to extend those as well and add your skills that address new prompts. But again, you would do it through Copilot Studio, but the mechanisms you might do for each could be slightly different. The Copilot instead of Dynamics, you could do it with like just prompt plugins, whereas for the Copilot for Sales in Microsoft 365, you'll use connector-based plugins.
How do you handle versioning of when you publish out? If you have to do an update or versioning, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so we basically piggyback on the solutioning that's available in Copilot Studio, and Copilot Studio follows the same principle for like updating connectors and so on that it has for Power Platform connectors already. So you could use a solution to basically like take out or ship the connector they have built from like one environment to the other, push in a new version of the connector and whatnot. So all the goodness that you had with solutions for like maintaining different versions of the connector and moving the connectors from like one environment to the other, you would sort of have a similar philosophy for all the AI-based plugins as well.
Yeah, and as you saw, you also can gate the rollout by individual user groups or users. So if you want to do a pilot, even within a given environment, you can use that to basically just pilot it with 10, 20, whatever users, and then start rolling it out to more and more users after that.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah, that's spot on. Like if we have like governance built into like all the end-to-end process. So if you want to do like a staged rollout, whether it's for testing or even in production, if you want to start with a smaller team and then expand as you go, you could do that by controlling who has access to the plugins that you're trying to roll out.
Does anyone else have a question?
There is an online question, and the question is about whether you need to give premium levels for extending the Copilot for Sales.
I believe yes. Our licensing team might have a more accurate answer, but I believe yes, you get access to Copilot Studio if you have like a premium license for Copilot for Sales. And that will get you access to Copilot Studio so that you can like build out your extensions and start testing them and using them.
Are there any other digital questions? All right. If we don't have any more, do you want to go ahead and close the session? And if you guys want to chat with them after, right now, you can go ahead and chat with them. So I think we can close.
Yeah, and we'll be around like outside the room even later. So feel free to like come back to us with questions. And thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.